Hello and welcome to Mad Al Goes Racing, and a quick video about the latest update, which in IIyama2, I better explain that bit, which is the version 1.2.3.0, and the changelog is as follows. Content wise, they've added the Corvette C3 to the vintage touring car class, and we'll have a look at that in a while. Also added the Corvette C3R spec to the GT Classics class. That's the one where they had the RSR Porsche added last time. General added damage scale option. Apparently it goes up to 200%, so you can now have the lightest tap will ripple the wheels off my car mode, if you like, or as we call it, Wreckfest. Added option to allow and stroke disable pit stop refueling. Added time plus 1 lap option for race sessions. Hopefully this time they've got it right and it actually works, because that's the second time it's been added. Real weather now uses real environmental temperatures for all tracks, including historic data. Added weather data between original feature release on June the 4th through today to historic database of all locations. UI and HUD lobby page session details, fixed incorrect value for mandatory stop, removed duplicate track cut entry, fixed rolling start label, added formation lap info, fixed lobby driver list scroll bar, fixed start button still being available when a championship is complete. Update various vehicle class colours, corrected track details for Azure, fixed missing track map for Interlagos stock car variant, fixed start button still being available when a championship is complete. I'm getting deja vu. Yes, that was in twice. Further restricted setup options showing redundant adjustable settings in fixed configurations. Physics. And this is the big one as far as this is concerned. Fixed bug in intake manifold pressure model causing a poor throttle response in several cars. I will explain that in a little bit more detail in a minute. Minor tyre tread adjustments to all GT classes, stock cars, P2, P3, F3, F-Trainer, Pro Car, Group A, Group C, Porsche RSR, Formula Vintage, Formula V, Apollo 79, Old Stock, Lotus 23 and street cars. In other words, just about everything. Revised clutch inertia values for all cars. Porsche RSR 1974 tyre carcass and tread model adjustments. Slightly adjusted centre of gravity height and inertia. Minor default setup adjustments. Fixed wet tyres over performance. Fixed redundant 1 bump stop level adjustment on setup screens for several cars that don't have that setting. Formula Vintage added extra final drive ratios to both V8 models as well as the Lotus 49C and the Brabham BT26. AI. Altered AI selection logic to selected fastest drivers first when fixed drivers are unavailable or exhausted. I think I followed that. Fixed excessive clutch inertia causing AI slow starts and gear shifts for Pro Car, Group A and Porsche RSR. General wet weather calibration pass for all cars. BMW M1 Pro Car, Group A, Porsche RSR AI calibration. Stop trying to read the letter ahead. Improved line and AI performance at Interlagos, Montreal and Santa Cruz. Audio. Added diversified curb, grasscrete or astroturf sound effects according to material type and profiles. So hopefully all the curbs don't all just go as you go over them. They all sound a bit different. Added dirt pickup sound effect on cars. Corrected various curb material sounds for Grange Viana, Ortona, Long Beach, Silverstone 1975, Silverstone 2001, Spa-Francorchamps, Kyalami, Imola, Kansai and Montreal. Adjusted audio pan compensation for curves and added support for more types to road noise sound. Mercedes 190E DTM fixed no engine sound when looking back in chase cam view. Tracks, minor adjustment to visual live track groove. Hockenheim fixed minor object popping issues. Salvador fortified some gaps in the walls, added more tree trunks to open areas, switched on collisions for static vehicles. Silverstone added a missing curb on Old Abbey Bridge Road. fixed a minor selection set error. Silverstone 2001, reduced road noise on GB layout, minor art and optimization pass. So was that audio noise, or was that, I'm assuming that's actually road noise as in what you get through FFB. Brasilia Outer, fixed minor clipping issues. Granja Viana, improved track cut limits, minor art and optimization pass. Silverstone 1975, minor art and optimization pass. Fixed pit wall collision. Long Beach, fix broken transform on some fence speakers, adjusted pit lane check block. Interlagos, minor art and optimization pass. Cable Park, minor art and optimization pass. Adelaide Historic, added pit lane cones. Replaced triggers with new boxes, minor art and optimization pass. Slightly reduced road noise. Francorchamps 2020, art and optimization pass. Kyalami, minor art and optimization pass. Imola 2021, minor art and optimization pass. Montreal, minor performance and art pass. Fixed strange collisions at T14 exit. Added VR cams for Brasilia Outer and Cavello B. Fixed missing pit box marker in race session for Daytona and Long Beach. Santa Cruz, add cones to mark pit entry and exit. Kyalami Historic, revised physical terrain and material types, minor performance pass. Minor fixes and adjustments to trackside cameras of Kyalami Azure and Cascai. Vehicles, Metal Moro MRX, all variants. My mouth don't work. Added driver animations, detached the cockpit gear shifter. Adjusted the cockpit view to match the new driver position. Fauna Trainer, added a rear. Chassis parts and rear suspension for cockpit view. Stock Corolla 2020-21, fixed Lot C glitch, various minor art improvements to vintage GT helmet and suits, and a quick swig on my drink. And scroll back to the point where we get to the first physics item, which was fixed bug in intake manifold pressure model, causing poor throttle response in several cars. Prior to this build, if you went in the RSR 1974 Porsche and you sat in neutral and you just tickled the throttle, you'll find that the revs would shoot around at sort of 3,000 RPM or more. I'm not sure how many it actually went up to. But it certainly shot round at a hell of a rate of knots to a very high value, and it actually made delicate throttle response quite bloody difficult. Because obviously, if you're tickling the throttle expecting to go up a couple of hundred revs, and it shoots up, the thing that happens when you're obviously in gear is instead of getting about 20 brake horsepower, you suddenly end up with 80 or 90 on a very slow corner exit with a very small opening of the throttle, and it makes it very difficult to actually keep the car in control, especially in the wet. Now, the Madness engine is quite complex in terms of modelling things like turbos, all the inertias in various parts of the engine, friction, losses, all sorts of things, including the intake, air intake model. And if you get the numbers wrong, one of a couple of things can happen. You can end up in a situation where the revs just don't go up. You can end up in a situation where they go up too fast, or you can end up in weird situations like if you hold the throttle flat out in neutral and let the engine rev to the red line and sit there. When you take your foot off the throttle, it will just stay at the red line. So there are all sorts of weird things that can happen if you don't get the right numbers in. And the numbers should be different for all the cars, but there's probably a sort of an approximate number that works for most cars. And basically what they've done is they've altered that number, and you should find that your throttle response is a lot better. Now, a lot of people, to combat that particular problem, went into the controls and went into the configuration, and what they did was they changed the sensitivity down to sort of something like 10, which is what I had mine on previously, and that actually compensated for the problem in the cars that had it, but also did mean that some other cars didn't feel quite right. So I suggest put it back to 50-ish and then see how you go for there. I am just about to put my brake sensitivity down a bit because I'm struggling a bit with my braking at the moment, so I'm going to put that down just to make it easier. That just means you get less initial bite. And then we're going to go in and we're going to have a look at the new. Now, the two new cars are in the GT Classics, which is the C3. And if we look in the options for liveries, quite a few liveries, some nice interesting ones. And if we have a quick look in the showroom, hopefully we won't get... If you go in here and you find that it's all blinding and sort of everything's gone a bit white, and have a look at your environment setting, which is near the reflections. Try going up and down on that. You will have to restart the game, but apparently there's some weird settings in that can cause this horrible bloom in the showroom. You don't need particularly high setting. I can't even remember what mine's on, but whatever it is, it's can cause weird issues. Humongous set of tyres on this thing. In terms of performance, this thing has 540 odd brake horsepower as opposed to the sort of 330 of the Porsche, and it weighs close to half as much again for Porsche. I've tried it around Oulton Park, and I'm not a huge fan, I have to say. It's just, I'm not sure whether it's just got too much power for the tyres it's got on it or what, but it's very, very tricky to drive. The brakes are absolutely bloody terrible, which I think is what they're meant to be like, but I have to say I did try it and I wasn't overly impressed with how good it was. Now, the Mini and the Lotus 23, we're talking about lightweight 1960s cars with sort of circa 100 horsepower and weighing it's about 540 kilos, that's about 700 kilos, and like I said, 110 brake horsepower. This thing on the other hand, that's about 1500 kilos, so it's about close to 3 times the weight of the Lotus 23, and 300 horsepower, which is about 3 times the weight, the power of the Lotus 23. Now, in terms of performance, what does that give you? Well, power to weight ratio, which is always a little bit of a tricky subject because obviously you're not constantly producing 300 horsepower or 100 horsepower, whatever. The engine power goes up and down depending on your revs, and depending upon how it produces the power, it can affect your sort of acceleration figures, because obviously if you stick your foot down and your engine's not producing anywhere near 100 horsepower, it's only producing 50, you ain't going to get the same acceleration. So the big issue as far as this being in this particular class is I think this is way over the top performance wise compared with the other two, and we'll see in a minute just how good, bad or indifferent that is. The thing is, having 300 horsepower, once it gets past that initial sort of getting over the physical issue of the weight of the car and it's how its power to weight ratio affects the acceleration, you get to the point where drag starts to take over as the important issue. And having 300 horsepower as opposed to 100 horsepower, unless that little Lotus has got a third of the drag in terms of drag force, not in terms of CD numbers of this thing, this is going to beat that every time. And also this is probably 20 miles an hour faster. I think the two other cars can do about 112 miles an hour. This thing will hit 130 plus if you go to somewhere like Daytona and ignore the corners around there and just go around the banked over. You can tell what these all do, and it's quite a margin. So anywhere where this thing can sort of stretch its legs a bit, it's going to have a monumental advantage. Let's have a quick look at the liveries. Slightly more mundane liveries because it's obviously a touring car, and a quick look in the showroom. And I do like the shape of this old Corvette. I think they're quite nice lines to it. Quite a pretty car for an American one. Not that I'm biased or anything, but yeah, quite nice. Rotate a bit. Obviously on street tyres. This should have the same tyres as the Lotus and the Mini, so all in all, obviously they're probably wider, which may help a bit, but we're going to select it and we're going to get a Oulton Park, and we're going to have a couple of laps around Oulton. Hopefully this will load at a reasonable pace, because I've got Origin sitting in the background doing some downloading to the same drive. Come on. Now the Mini and the Lotus, the TT fastest laps are about a 154 and a 156. If you look at the just the straightforward, without anything being done to it, laps, they're both about a 156. So the question is, how much difference is this? Well, we'll have a look. Bit of a tight entry. Now, have I got this set up so I can have a look around? No. I really should have had a look around the cockpit first, but brakes, what brakes? I think on a really tight circuit, the advantage of top speed of this has got, and its absolutely abysmal braking performance, will probably give the other cars a bit of a chance. But if you are somewhere like this, which has got a reasonable length of straights, Spielberg, Hockenheim, all of those sort of places there, sort of 70s tracks, this thing is going to absolutely cane, I suspect, the other two cars in the class. As you can see, we're hitting 125. I'm going to brake nice and early for the very simple reason that, and even then it gets around the corner probably easily as fast as the Lotus 23, so it's not lacking in cornering grip, I don't think. It is definitely lacking in braking though. Brake ultra bloody early. Like I said, remember the 154 is the current fastest in a tuned Mini. There aren't a huge number of people who set a lap, I have to say, but it does like to have a bit of a attempted oversteer moment on braking down that hill. Now, so I've hardly got the tyres up to temperature. I'm going to be very cautious around here, so. And I'm going to try and get it nice and straight and brake early, so. But it is nice and planted, I have to say. It's you feel a little bit of wobble and a little bit of weave in the suspension, because it is basically a road car. overall it actually feels really nice, and it's not difficult to drive if you're not pushing it too damn hard, which I'm not. It does feel like it wants to try and swap ends a little bit on the brakes, but otherwise not too bad. Well, there you go, that's a 148.3 without me even trying. So it's 6 to 8 seconds faster at least than the other two cars in the class around here, which is quite a lot. So anywhere you take this where you've got a few decent length straights, you're going to absolutely slaughter the other two cars in the class. So if you're going to race these, you either want to race single make with just these, or exclude this and allow the other two, because I think it's a bit of a David and Goliath job, but I think Goliath has also got an AK-47 in this case. So the other car, the C3R, is frankly nowhere near as nice to drive as this. It feels slightly unbalanced. I mean, I can have a quick couple of laps just to show you. I don't know whether it's just overpowering the tyres all the time, or whether it's just not quite balanced correctly. But the Porsche, I can do 1 minute 40 laps around here without too much effort. This thing, as you'll probably see in a second, even doing a lap without killing myself is actually quite difficult, and it helps if I actually press the button that says start. Again, we're talking 540 horsepower, which is quite a lot of grunt from back then. Well, it sounds really nice. Lots of backfires and nasty noises. I mean, at this point it feels like it's going to be really nice and planted. Again, absolutely bloody chronic brakes. Feel it trying to get away. It's quick, I'll have to say that. I mean, we're hitting 145 miles an hour, but it just feels like it's understeering like a pig. And I think I actually went faster around that corner in the road going version than I did in that just now. Because it's not giving me any real confidence it's going to stick to the road at the moment. So, oh shit. As I said, it just feels like it wants to fishtail everywhere, and really is damn hard work to drive. You know, sometimes you get in a car and you think, oh, it just feels so planted and it's so right, and gives you a massive amount of confidence to just go out there and try and get on the limit straight away. Well, this is the absolute opposite of that. It feels nothing like planted. In fact, it feels like it's constantly trying to kill. and I'm treading on eggshells trying to drive it. No, it's not turning in. No. That's it. I don't know how fast I was going as I was trying to turn in there, but it just didn't feel like the front end was actually doing what I wanted it to. We'll try one more lap. Well, we're getting some warmth on the front tyres. Okay, we're probably on a green track. I haven't put it up to fully rub it in, I don't think. For those who like a nice driving challenge, probably highly recommended, but it's just understeer city there. When it holds its line, it doesn't feel like the back end's trying to break away on the brakes, which is better than the road going version, but instead of that, it just doesn't feel like it's got any front end to it, which is... But it's one thing I do want, it's a front end. Right, we'll brake a bit earlier. Just over 80. Barely any faster than the road car was going, I don't think. So, and again, come on, turn. It's not got the most positive feeling front end. There you go, 1 minute 44.3, so it's basically 4 seconds a lap faster than the road going version was. And hard work, so I don't know whether they're going to do a bit more work on this, but so yeah, it's hard work to drive that. Certainly the road going version. The road going version's really nice. The touring car. So I don't know whether it's just a characteristic of having basically too much power for the tyres, or whether the tyres need a slight adjustment to the way they're gripping and losing grip. But yeah. 50% hit rate, I think we'll call that one. So, I think for now, for me, that will do. And I will see you again soon. Enjoy your racing, and goodbye.